Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second broadcast of XJW TV. I'd like to introduce my new co-host, Kimmy.
Hi,
Yeah,
everybody.
hello. Oh my, oh my.
Yeah, and we have Mikey's M&Ms.
Yes, I got my M&M. Don't spill them this time.
Don't spill them this time.
Yes.
They were down in the heater vent under my desk here.
What? In the heater vent?
Yeah, they were down there.
Did you fish them out for me?
I vacuumed them up.
Did you save them for me?
No, I threw them out.
Oh, you don't ever throw out an M&M. I don't care if the dog or the cat's been licking it. You don't ever throw out an M&M.
Ooh.
You know what, really? Somebody should alert the M&M company, who is it, Mars, that I think we should be getting some royalties for plugging the M&M candy.
We're getting everybody addicted to M&Ms.
Yes. I wonder if the sales of M&Ms are just skyrocketing right now.
Yeah.
Okay,
now
what are we here to do, co-host?
All kidding aside, this is a very serious video, and it actually made us sick to our stomach, to hear how witnesses, again, on jdb.org are, they're at the forefront, fighting Ebola and, doing all this great stuff, and they're in there helping everybody.
Yeah. We don't want to belittle Watchtower for what appears to be I don't even know the word. When we read the article, it really makes it sound like that Watchtower is leading the charge to fight Ebola, when in fact they've done nothing but throw a few little pennies into some bleach and water, and they're teaching Jehovah's Witnesses how to be clean. It's actually disgusting the way Watchtower has actually written this. But we do want to send our prayers and our thoughts to our brothers and sisters in West Africa. We know that it cannot be an easy situation to live life right now. I'm sure that there's a lot of things that are on hold, a lot of things up in the air. Not just Jehovah's Witnesses are losing their lives, but West Africans are losing their life also. So we don't want Watchtower to get away with just focusing on the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the Jehovah's Witnesses that are affected by this. So we're going to we want to thank John for letting us know that this article was on jw.org.
Yeah.
So, and then Kim and I, I should say Kim did some online research today and found some other articles directly from the United Nations. And it's interesting that Jehovah's Witnesses are not even mentioned as being part of the campaign to help stop the spread of Ebola. Yeah. Interesting. But yet, when we read this article from JWN, it makes it sound like that they're right out in the front leading the charge.
JW.org.
Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, I meant JW.org.
And then
I need an M&M.
Yeah, we found this article on digitaljournal.com, and Jehovah's Witnesses in fight against Ebola. It sounds exactly, almost word for word, what is on jw.org.
Well, that's what's interesting. You type in this article from what magazine was this from?
The Digital Journal.
The Digital Journal by Kevin Jess. And when you read the article that he wrote and printed, it's almost like this Kevin Jess took the article from jw.org and just rearranged it a little bit.
Copied and
pasted it and put it in this journal and entitled it Jehovah's Witnesses in Fight Against Ebola. That's some pretty poor journalism, Kevin Jess.
Yeah. Or did JW.org copy him?
I think he copied JW.org.
Yeah, wouldn't be the first time they plagiarized.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And then when you start actually doing research and see who really is in the fight at, the front lines of this fight. But let's just go a little bit through the article that we got off of jw.org. It's called Jehovah's Witnesses Respond to Ebola Outbreak. As the deadly Ebola outbreak devastates West Africa, Jehovah's Witnesses continue continue to proactively educate their members about the disease.
So there again,
their members.
There's a word, proactively. Make it sound like they're right in the middle of this fight against Ebola.
Yeah. Now you notice it says their members about the disease, because we'll cover that later. How they make it sound like it's everybody. Okay, so upon learning the Ebola virus had been found in Guinea, it had quickly spread to nearby Liberia and Sierra Leone. Branch offices of Jehovah's Witnesses in the region immediately sent letters to alert all congregations in the 3 countries, incorporating guidelines and suggestions provided by local government agencies.
See, not Jehovah's Witness guidelines, but local government agencies.
Yeah. The letters explain the dangers of the virus, how the virus is transmitted, and what precautionary measures should be taken to prevent the spread of the disease. Being in an area where medical diseases are not well understood and where false rumors about the source of Ebola were widespread, many people were initially confused about what to do, states Colin Attic, spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses in Sierra Leone.
Okay, now, I personally have an issue with this Jehovah's Witness spokesperson, Colin, as far as I'm concerned, because it just, what the colon does. Colin, here's the thing. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did not West Africa, a few years ago, but that'd be 10, 15, did they not have another outbreak of the Ebola virus?
Yeah.
Should not them people already have known what to do? Should not have all of those rumors have been dispelled many years ago? How could them people have been confused? Because that part of Africa has already dealt with an Ebola outbreak once before. So, to me, this idiot Jehovah's Witness spokesperson, to me, in my opinion, is now downplaying the intelligence of the people in West Africa.
Yeah. And when congregation members heard the instructions at their Kingdom Hall, they responded promptly and positively. Okay, then in July, traveling representatives of Jehovah's Witnesses began making special 2-day visits to each congregation in Sierra Leone and Guinea. The visits feature a talk entitled Obedience Saves Lives, with the objective of increasing awareness of practical safeguards against the disease, as well as encouraging continued adherence to the latest guidelines available. These visits will continue through November of 2014. Additionally, the witnesses provided hand-washing stations containing water mixed with bleach at the entrance of each of the witnesses' places for worship, known as Kingdom Halls, in Guyana, Liberia, and Sierra Leone. Most witnesses in these countries are following that example, providing a hand-washing station at their home.
Okay. Here's another problem. Here in the United States, our news media is broadcasting to us that this part of West Africa is in serious need of hospital beds.
And places to quarantine patients.
They're in serious need for quarantine facilities. Exactly. So you would think that Watchtower, being a multi-billion-dollar corporation, would spring out a few bucks to buy beds. Maybe donate a Kingdom Hall or two for a quarantine place. No. What do?
Bleach?
Bleach. Granted, Jehovah's Witnesses, Watchtower, why are you stooping so low? You've got this article printed out here making you look like you're the knight in shining armor, and all you can do is provide a hand-washing station when the world knows that there's a dire need for beds in quarantine buildings. Give up a few of those Kingdom Halls. Spring for some beds. Have a real effect on helping these people.
Yeah. Well, I find this interesting too. Down here it says relief committees of witness volunteers are assisting local Witnesses in caring for the needs of their families and fellow worshippers in the West African countries hardest hit by Ebola. See? Fellow
So
worshippers.
that's twice now in this article that Jehovah's Witnesses are only helping Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. Following Bible principles of cleanliness and quarantine is helping us to deal with this situation, states Thomas Nyan, Sr., spokesman for Jehovah's Witnesses in Liberia. Now, this is what I thought was really weird.
Well, yeah.
As Jehovah's Witnesses, we also avoid unscriptural burial practices. This is proving to be a protection for all of our members, especially during this critical time. Now, we know that a lot of the areas there in Africa, they have the practice of taking, a family member that has died and like washing the body and, taking care of it and maybe even kissing it and hugging it and stuff. But I mean,
I want to challenge this Jehovah Witness Thomas Nyan Sr. You show me in the Bible, dude, what is a proper scriptural burial practice. I've read the Bible from cover to cover several times. I have yet to see one single outline that shows anybody of any religion, and in you, Jehovah's Witnesses, what is a proper burial practice. The Bible is silent on that issue. So for you to come out here and say that as Jehovah's Witnesses we avoid unscriptural burial practices, you're talking out your backside now, pal.
Yeah, because I mean, there's nothing that says you can't take a body and wash it. And I know with the Ebola virus,
you don't want to kiss it, but it's not an unscriptural practice. So what kind of bull crap are you trying to feed the non-educated Jehovah Witness world?
Yeah. But what's interesting, they in this, well, up here it says, Jehovah's Witnesses help their members and non-witnesses in the community to avoid the Ebola virus. So now it's the community.
Now it's the community. But, remember twice.
They're members.
Before this little sentence, it was only helping Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. The authorities there also requested that the Witness Relief Committee assist the government's agency in the region.
Now,
and we'll bring that up.
Well, but see, this is interesting to note, because if Watchtower is going to really have an effect in West Africa in helping to fight the Ebola virus, see, the authorities there also requested that the Jehovah's Witness Relief Committee assist the government agencies in the region. But yet, Watchtower doesn't say a damn thing as to whether they acknowledge the request, whether they're working with those requests. They're absolutely silent. Now, for someone who's got an article on jw.org about Jehovah's Witnesses respond to Ebola, you'd think you'd say something about how you're willing to work with government agencies in stopping the spread of Ebola. But no, instead, you're very silent about it. Is that because you don't want Jehovah's Witnesses around the world to know that you're working hand in hand with the government in trying to stop this?
Yeah. The only thing they admit to doing is instructing their members and setting up the hand washing stations. That's the only thing they admit to. Oh, except for this, the concluding paragraph. We are encouraged to see our fellow believers in West Africa exercising caution while continuing their spiritual activities and Bible education work to the extent possible, comments J.R. Brown, international spokesman at the Witness World Headquarters in New York. Continuing.
So here you have something as deadly as Ebola, and Jehovah's Witnesses are still continuing their door-to-door activity. This next comment is for the United Nations, and I know full well that they're never going to see this video. They're never even going to know that Michael Brooks said this. You want to help stop some of that spreading of the Ebola? Demand that Jehovah's Witnesses stop going from door to door, because you don't know who's infected, and they don't know who's infected until it's too late.
Yeah. Well, they could go to a house that,
even
is just now
just
getting
now
contagious
exactly,
and takes it back to the kingdom hall.
takes it back to the or takes it to the next door neighbor, and then to the next door neighbor, and then to the next door neighbor. You want to help stop the spread of this Ebola virus, put an end to that door-to-door preaching work temporarily until you people in West Africa can get a grip of what's happening over there.
Yeah. Okay, so I have an article here from allafrica.com. And this is interesting because in Monrovia, is scaling up its support in the fight against the deadly Ebola virus in Liberia. United Nations entity for gender equality and the empowerment of women. Okay, now they call it UN Women for short. Has presented several anti-Ebola materials to the Ministry of Gender and Development of Liberia. So they're providing materials.
Not Jehovah's Witnesses.
UN Women, unless they're like that with the UN.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Watchtower has a library card for the UN. Oh yeah, we know that.
Okay, so the National Project Manager for Women's Economic Rights and Livelihoods Project at UN Women, Ramon Garway, who presented the consignment of material, said the donation was one way the organization is contributing to the fight against the virus by augmenting the efforts of its partners, especially the Ministry of Gender and Development. Okay, so this Ministry of Gender and Development.
Yeah, remember that name because there's something a little bit further down in the article. For me, it was very confusing at first.
Yeah. Okay, so now here it says the UN Women donation to the fight against the spread of Ebola contains several cartons of sanitizers, boxes of Clorox, chlorine, buckets, and hundreds of bottles of mineral water. So at least they're donating, trying to do the best they can. Okay, according to Mr. Garway, UN Women, along with the Ministry of Gender and Development, is working with its network of women's organizations around Liberia to prevent the spread of the virus and respond to the needs of women and girls affected. Okay, so they're also, trying to educate in all of this. And here it says, we will train heads of organizations and expect them to go back in their various communities to provide training also, she said. According to the gender minister, the ministry...
Right, which is the gender ministry. This is where I got confused.
Yeah, it's the Ministry of Gender.
It's right. It's because they actually say... Go ahead, dear.
Okay. The ministry is carrying out a Jehovah's Witness campaign to combat the Ebola virus.
When I read that, I thought that it was Jehovah's Witnesses carrying out this campaign. It's not.
They're doing a Jehovah's Witness-like campaign where they're canvassing the whole area.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because it's confusing is the ministry is carrying out a Jehovah's Witness campaign. And any witness reading that, just like us. When we first
see what Jehovah's Witnesses are doing? Yeah. We're canvassing the area, teaching everybody how to be clean and to avoid all those unscriptural burial practices.
Yeah.
No.
This Ministry of Gender will be giving good packages to our community women and ensure that Ebola is contained. And they also presented a consignment of food and non-food items to the ELWA Ebola Treatment Unit for patients at that center. So at least they're stating what they're doing to help.
Yeah, going beyond just providing a few little water spigots and a bottle of bleach like Watchtower.
Well, I was going to say, look, they have, this is their hand washing station. It is a 5-gallon bucket with water mixed with bleach. Wow,
for crying out loud. $5? Yeah, for crying out loud. I could do that. I mean,
yeah.
There again, you've got.
He's speechless.
Well, I just can't get over the fact how Watchtower has got the cojones to put an article on jw.org that's only telling.
Well, they make it sound like they're at the forefront.
They make it sound like they're right. Because when you're a Jehovah's Witness in the United States reading this, you're saying, oh, look at what this organization is doing.
We need to donate more.
Well, yeah, there you go. But, they're over there fighting Ebola, and they're taking the lead. No, they're not.
Yeah, they don't even mention here in their article that the UN Women is the one that's taking at the forefront, doing all this.
I mean, honestly, Kim just read that article how this UN group of women have been donating food, donating other items. Watchtower hasn't said they've donated a single loaf of bread.
Bleach.
Well, yeah, they've donated the bleach, but I mean,
the 5-gallon buckets.
They
probably
need food too.
Well, like you said, beds.
Yeah, beds.
Okay, so now this article: Ebola fears cloud Jehovah's Witnesses meeting in Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe.
Thank you. I can't talk tonight. Thank you. I appreciate it. What would I do without you?
Well, that's why I'm the host and you're the co-host.
I do most of the work.
I know. Well, okay. That's how a host delegates to the co-host.
Yeah, he's just the puppet. The real work goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah, exactly.
Zimbabwe government is in a quandary as the country prepares to host a 3-day Jehovah's Witness conference with 50,000 people from around the world expected to attend. Oh, that's just Ebola waiting to happen.
Oh yeah, but let's just keep in mind that this article was posted on August of 2014. August 2014. So this is actually a couple months old, but this was a very serious concern for the government of Zimbabwe because they were going to have 50,000 Jehovah's Witnesses come to this Zimbabwe for one of their district conventions.
Some delegates will come from West Africa where there has been an outbreak of Ebola. Given the state of the host's healthcare system, however, some delegates might be barred from attending. And we haven't heard whether they had their assembly or not. Dr. Christopher... Okay, Smarty, how do you pronounce that one?
I don't know this one.
Tafumeni? The principal director in Zimbabwe's health ministry says the country has not had an Ebola case, but that the government is aware of problems that the conference might present. Understandable. You know, you've got 50,000 people coming in and meeting all together. Yeah. And this Dr. T says with the advice of the World Health Organization, Zimbabwe has started educating some medical officials about Ebola. See, and the point I wanted to bring out about this article also is the World Health Organization that is out there in the forefront, not Jehovah's Witnesses. So
yeah, it's actually a pretty lengthy article. But you can find it at it's on Voice of America, correct?
Yeah, Voice of America.
Yeah. Ebola fears cloud Jehovah's Witness meeting in Zimbabwe.
Yeah, and this is back from August. Yeah, because the World Health Organization officials, South Africa, they've asked for the WHO officials to provide for the control of international spread of disease across borders. Good luck with that, because now it's here in the United States.
We also know, because we've heard on the news, that large gatherings, small gatherings, have actually been banned in West Africa, which would have affected Jehovah's Witnesses directly, because we all know they meet, in their kingdom halls every Sunday. Conventions. But we also know that even though the government agencies have enacted these bans on such meetings, Kim and I, have actually received emails from some Jehovah's Witnesses in West Africa that are avoiding the government warnings, avoiding the government ban, and are still meeting in
people's
secret.
Homes.
Yeah. So, Watchtower, I don't care what kind of propaganda you print on jw.org about how you're educating people. The fact remains is that Kim and I are sitting on emails from Jehovah's Witnesses that are saying that you are still recommending they meet for their meetings.
Yeah.
So that's not good, Watchtower.
Exactly. And our heart goes out, to everyone in Africa. And
West Africa, I mean,
and all over the world too, because now this horrible disease is spreading.
It's spreading. It's spreading. So we hope that the governments, the United Nations, the World Health Organization, can all get together and put a quick end to this, because this is not something you want to play around with.
Yeah, exactly.
So
anyway, well, you all have a good evening. and hope you enjoyed our rant. And we'll see you all later.
Bye.